silent individual prayers. Amen. Amen. Let me invite members of the Fourth Estate to please lean forward your recorders and turn your cameras as we start our next day. Also, I want to kindly ask all of us to please put on our face masks properly. Please, let us put on our face masks properly. With that said, we move on to the weekly update for this week, and I shall read. The CEO of TAF Africa Global, Mr. Mustafa Njai, as on Monday, 23rd August, arrived in Freetown to finalize investment arrangements in the line with President Bill's vision to provide affordable housing units and develop micro-cities across the country. Mr. Njai met and had fruitful discussions with the Minister of Lands, Dr. Tuad Senesi, and other senior staffs of the ministry, and have signed an MOU with the Ministry of Lands to construct over 10,000 housing units across the country. The Honorable Vice President, Dr. Mohamed Judecharo, has on Tuesday, 24th August, visited the site of the Oil Petroleum Products Company, a new oil company in the petroleum sector, with a vision to increase the capacity and quality of petroleum products in the country. The Oil Petroleum Product has built massive tanks at the Kisi Oil Refinery to ensure storage in order to minimize the impact of shortage of petroleum products in the market. The Vice President called for cooperation in the oil sector. The Minister of Information and Communications, Mohamed Gaman Soare, has played host to the United States Ambassador to Sierra Leone, Mr. David Lima, at his EU building office on Wednesday, 25th August 2021. The US Ambassador was on a walking visit to the ministry responsible to handle government communications to examine government's efforts in COVID-19 vaccination, cybercrime, MCC, and other related matters. The United Nations Resident Coordinator in Sierra Leone, Babatunde Ahusi, has met with the Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, Dr. Memunatu Prat, at the Ministry's office in Freetown to discuss possibilities of the UN rendering support in promoting the development of tourism in the country. He commended Dr. Pratt for her strides made in revamping the tourism sector. 100 human resource officers in various ministries, departments, and agencies of government have completed a 2-day training on basic principles in manpower planning procedures at the Civil Service Training College in Freetown. The training was conducted for the first time as part of the reforms in the civil service in Sierra Leone. The World Bank Country Director for Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, Perry Frank Laporte, has paid a courtesy call to HE Dr. Julius Mada Bio and pledged the bank's support for the country's health insurance scheme. This is all we have for our weekly update, and I shall now call upon the Deputy Minister of Information and Communication for the rest of the press briefing.
Thank you, Mr. Peacock. Without further ado, I'm pleased to note the presence of the distinguished Minister of Internal Affairs, Honorable David Pandanoa. He's here with the team of high-powered officials from the Sierra Leone Correctional Center. It may please the Honorable Minister to introduce key members of his delegation at some point. So the Minister of Internal Affairs will be pleased to provide us critical highlights of the proposed relocation of the Pademba Road Correctional Center and perhaps any other relevant issues as he would deem fit and proper. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to bring to the floor the distinguished Minister of Internal Affairs.
Good afternoon, um, members of the Fourth Estate, and good afternoon, members of the Correctional Services. Mr. Deputy Minister, I thank you for inviting us to this weekly national press conference, and you have given us a topic of discussion to update citizens through the media on the relocation of the Leone Correctional Center, Pademba Road Prison, and other related issues. I want to stress that what we have is work in progress. We're in the preparatory phase of the relocation of the Leone Correctional Center or the Pademba Road prisons. I want to stress it's preparatory. We don't have answers to certain questions like how much it will cost and stuff, but we'll give you an update. And I think it's good that we start to talk about the relocation of the Leone Correctional Services. We'll be relocating. When it comes to question time, I would ask that members of the correctional services will help to answer certain questions if I can't. We have also members of the ministry, which we'll introduce them as we go along. The topic is relocation of the Sierra Leone main correctional center from Freetown to Songo Colony. We have, for our background, we have as a background that we, as government, and Ministry of Internal Affairs and Leone Correctional Services in particular, have for some time now been talking about the overcrowding of the main correctional facility. And government in its manifesto also had captured this to say that we would decongest the prisons. And in the new direction midterm development plan, we also have captured this, and it is part of our mandate now to ensure that we locate the prisons, and we're doing so that we can primarily decongest the prisons. After assuming office last year, I did go to visit the area in Songo to see that we have the area already where we wanted to take the prison or correctional services to, and it was the people said they had the space, and so we decided that we'll go ahead and do this because it's in our manifesto, and His Excellency is a talk and do president. Would ask why the relocation, although I've said decongestion is why. We also have other reasons why, and one of them is security. Now, why do we say security? Security, if we look at where the correctional service is now, is mainly in the main heart of the CBD. The sprawl of houses and businesses and just living and living quarters around the area is immense. It's now in the middle of the CBD or the central business area. And when you look at the things that happen in the prison itself, there's lots of missiles being sent into the prisons. And when we say missiles, drugs, contraband, phones, and the like. Many things get into the prison through missiles. That's people standing outside and sending things through into the prison grounds. People can overlook. If you stand up high up where the new road's been made, you can overlook and see right into the prison grounds. That is a security issue, a security concern, and so that is one of the reasons why I want to remove. Now we have had disturbances in the prison area. We have had attempted breakouts, we've had other issues, and so when we have concerns like that, that whole area, people who live in that whole area have real constraints in going to their houses and coming from their houses, and the whole security area there is put in issues because we have now to put a response to ensure that citizens are safe and secured in that area. So definitely that is one of the reasons why we are thinking of and saying that we need to relocate the Sierra Leone Correctional Services. If we look at overcrowding, let's look at overcrowding. As we see over here, the maximum prison was built for 324 inmates, but it's now all housing over 1,500 inmates. Let's see why it was built. They had blocks: Howard, Blyden, Paxton, and Wilberforce, and each of those ones was made for like 72 people, 72 housemates, each one of them, and then condemn and separate cells for 14, and remand section 22, so a total of 324. But if we have, just imagine, a space and facilities made for 324 prison inmates, at that time it was a prison, and we have now 1,000 over, sometimes it goes over 1,500 daily that we have. And that is a big concern. It's a big concern for the inmates, for the officers actually trying to provide correctional service to the inmates and provide services to the inmates, to their welfare. You know, it's a situation that you do not want to be in, a situation that we don't want to have. And so therefore, we're saying that we need to move this prison, or move the correctional services to where it should be. Now we should look at the focus. The focus has changed from prisons to a correctional service. Now, if we talk about the correctional services, the infrastructure that we have is in no way going to provide for reintegration, or provide for training, or provide for facilities like recreation that the prison inmates should be having. You know, that we for 1,500 people we cannot. The space is little, the space is not, the infrastructure itself is not there. We don't have the staff quarters, we don't have the staff, their own even place to sit down, offices to have when they go and for their daily work. It's not, we don't have that. And so it is not ideal for us to have the prisons where it is, or the correctional services where it is, because we are stressing on correctional services. We want people, inmates, to go in, learn something, come back, go in there, do some work, and come out. So at the end of their time, they have money to come back into the society. But we don't have that currently, and we can't do that. The small that is there, in some areas we do, like in McKinney and Mafanta, we have schools, and even in, I think, Moyamba, they have graduate. One person studying now for graduation. Well, that's the correctional service, but we don't have the facilities to do more and more of this. And we ask again, we go into, if we look at human rights, okay, well, we look at categorization. We have condemned cells, or condemned inmates. We have trial inmates. We have remand inmates, and we have convicted inmates. Normally, in a normal situation, people are separated. All these categorizations are separated, so that if I'm going for remand, I'm for magistrate court, I am not mixed up with somebody who's condemned hardcore criminal. But when that happens, by the time I come out, I am thinking about different things, because I could be indoctrinated to believing that crime is a way of life, that I can do this and do that. And so people going as trial inmates or trial then come out as hardcore criminals. We have the remand. So these people are normally separated and not being part of each other, convicted as well. The condemned inmates are always around the other people, and these people are condemned. They know they can die at any time, and so their penchant for life sometimes is as you and I would be thinking that, oh, I don't want to commit a crime or do something wrong. They can react in any way, very easily and very quickly. They can change. And so we need to have this separation where people can then be, according to their categorization, can stay with each other and live with each other, and then, come out back into the city, in society. Because sometimes you're not guilty, but because of the case that's made against you, you have to be brought in to the correctional services, like that. Another one we have is the classification, risk level and needs assessment. This too becomes a difficulty to handle. Just as I was saying, my needs might be that I need some special I need a wheelchair, I might need, special breathing apparatus if I have asthma, things like that. But at the moment, because of the overcrowding, these things are not available. We don't have, we're not able to satisfy the needs of each and every one of our inmates. Next slide. Human rights issues. Our fundamental, basic, His Excellency the President talks about human capacity development. That's our mantra, that's what we believe, that's our vision. So that human beings very important. And so when we look at the correctional services, we're saying it's a correctional service, not a prison. We're there for the human beings there to be corrected, to come back to society, to meet their families, a changed person, but a person who's ready to be in society. So the Mandela rules, the standard minimum rules for the treatment of offenders, we hold very dearly in the correctional services. We are looking at it as one of the things that we should aspire to. So we're working all through to make sure, but the current situation that we have here is not allowing that. The welfare, if you look at the welfare of the inmates, the feeding, all these things should be looked at, and and this ultra-modern prison that we're looking for should provide for this, where we have cooks, people even trained as cooks, bakers, bakeries, everything's done in there. We're doing it now, but to a limited extent. Sometimes, the variety of food that you might have, the variety of feed, recreational services, you have a football field, but that's not everywhere. If you go to, you have convicts in certain areas, you don't have that. We have football, that's not enough. 1,500 people in one area. You need basketball, you need volleyball, you need other kinds of weightlifting, other kinds of things that we can do. The cell spacing. You're overcrowded in the cells. Sometimes you see people there, there's no space to lie, they lie down by time. People stand up, some people sleep, while others are standing. And the time for them, 1,500 people to get them in and out. So they have to go they're released very late, and they're taken back into the cells very early, and into that cramped cell space. That's not good for our human rights. So we want to have an ultra-modern system or infrastructure that can house this, that will provide for this. Church and mosques, facilities. Some people go in these situations not by their own making. Sometimes they're involved in different ways, but they're in there in all the same. But we need to have areas where they can go and rethink, and have that church and that spiritual side being developed, the spiritual side being, and we have schools, quarters for staff, the whole area. We'll bring these things in, we'll bring the surroundings in somewhere where we'll be bringing these things out. Next slide. Uplifting of facilities in the central business area of Freetown. So this area that we're going to leave, we'll go take everything that way to Songo. It will be made up of construct modern facilities in the CBD. New buildings, new offices, spaces to relax, spaces, bicycle ramps, parking spaces like we have in the city council. We can have major modern developments happening in that area. It's a wide and big area. We can have schools there, and what that will do for us is also give us the space for the rural areas to be developed. Yes, that ward there, the Western Area Rural District, will be developed by us having more schools out there. We can, because just imagine courts, police stations, and all these things will have to be housed there, bringing jobs for more and more people in those areas, so that this area is not congested. Many people come this way for jobs, but if they have the jobs locally, that area too is sprawling and it's increasing. And also, we can have other development projects that we're talking about. We're having the academy for the staff. We can have those ones for senior management level. Just the kind of schools that we can have there for just the staff of officers as well as the wider community. Hospitals, things like this we'll be having in those areas, and the area too will develop in time. Next slide. Okay, I will also want to. We're not going to the process at the moment. Just say that this is a project that, as I say, it's in progress. We don't have many answers, but we're also doing a lot in terms of the society where we're going to, who we're going to deal with in those areas. And what will happen when we leave this area? Well, we're not saying we'll leave the area completely. We have the high courts over here, so we can have holding cells in these areas. But and do the whole thing in that way. The process in that we have engaged is that we have two management teams, two teams. One is the supervisory and the management level, which is made up of ministries, not just me. We have the Ministry of Works as well as part of Ministry of Lands. We have the Environment Minister, all parts of that supervisory body. And we have the technical team, which actually goes out to look at the physical implementation of these. And we have the correctional services, we have works, we have the TST, which are embedded in the correctional services. We have the MIA, we have the environment people, we have the land people, and so we have those two management things, bodies that will be looking at the whole process that we're engaging. We would engage. The process we're going through now is engaging with relevant stakeholders to ensure a buy-in for the relocation of the Pandemba Road Correctional Center. And we do. We have the political will. We have the political will to ensure this happens. And so I think we are slowing down the process at the moment because the political will is there for us to move on and do and carry this out. So for now, we've been to the site. We have spoken to the people have the land. We have about 300 acres of land, and we have swamp land as well. That's very good for us because agriculture is one big area that we want to get into with the inmates. And so we've conducted the land survey. As I said, we have 300. They have some more land, but we'll see how that goes. We have had negotiations. We've started negotiations on the compensation that will be given for the land. That started. It's not inconclusive, but it started, and that's one that we'll be taking. And so we will install giant pillars to ensure we have a demarcation of the area. And we ensure it's an area that is for now, we are going to ensure it's excluded from normal human being people, because as we're overcrowded over here, we don't want the same thing to be repeated when we get over there. So we'll build a buffer zone. We'll have a major buffer zone around the prisons or around the correctional services, so that we don't have this push into our estate. So we have that demarcation between ourselves and the people, so that if we need to have any response to any activity or wanted activity, we can deal with that. Bush clearing, brushing of the site, construction of 2 security posts on site, meeting with business partners interested in bidding. This is at the end of it. What we're saying is what we're trying to develop is a sort of product, in that at the end of it, we'll be saying this is what we have. We've got land, we've got this space here for sale, and this is so this is our price. How do you want to work with us? There are many other ways that people want to work, that they want to do there. There's a PPP, there's a BOT, various ways people have been having interest. People have been showing interest in what we're doing, and they're coming up with various methods or things that they want to do with us and work with us, how they want to work with us. But that, as I say, we're way away from that. We're currently just ensuring that we have the land, we have the space all measured up, and we have quantity surveyors do what is right to see how much it is worth. And then we'll go ahead and do what there's political will. We're ready to do. I'm ready to do this, and so it's just a matter of us ensuring that we go step by step and inform as we're going on. His Excellency is big on community engagement, and this is part of the community engagement in coming to the press and coming to the people to say this is what we want to start. This is what we think is good. This is how we want to go, and then we'll continue. So as we're progressing, we'll come back in here to tell the people what we've done so far, how far we've gone. In terms of time, as I said, it will all depend. We are ready to go as fast as we can, and we're doing the designs. So all the designs will be done. The design of the prison is being done at the moment. We have people who are doing it for free, and so they're carrying out. These are consultants who have done other big projects. So we are ensuring that we have the best, and we have our officers that we have are well trained. Most of them have been to visit many other prisons outside of Africa, in Africa, within Africa, so they also understand what it means to have a good correctional services and the things that they want. So all that input that we'll have will ensure we have a good and sound, ultra-modern correctional services. I thank you for your attention. Do I do that now or do wait after this? Okay, any other thing? Should I do that now? Or the number plate thing?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I've been invited for the relocation, but and it says any other issues. What I'd like to bring to the attention of the nation is the covering of number plates. The covering of number plates. We've issued press releases. His Excellency had actually at the beginning, when we started in 2018, had an executive order out regarding this covering of number plates, but we're seeing an increase in the use of covering of number plates, or people not using number plates at all and not having a valid TVR, temporary vehicle registration slip pasted on their vehicles, and so we've sent press releases out. We've sent it out to all government institutions, all ministers, all deputy ministers, or everybody who owns a vehicle. When you're applying the routes, should not be covered. According to the Road Traffic Act of 2007 and the regulations of 2011, it's an offense, and those offenses will be administered by the police. The police have been asked to arrest and detain, impound the vehicles that do this or commit this offense. The toll gates have been asked not to allow vehicles with covered number plates and to impound and arrest. Security forces on these areas in the toll gates will impound and arrest anybody who covers their number plate and is plying the routes of this country, or who does not have a number plate affixed and without a valid TVR, because you're given a TVR for 14 days to allow you to fix up your vehicle, to register your vehicle properly. And so if you don't have a number plate, a valid number plate on your vehicle, please know that you bring yourself or present yourself for embarrassment. All government departments, agencies and ministries have been told, letters have been written to them, to the ministers, to the deputy ministers, to the permanent secretaries, to inform those who use government vehicles and who cover their number plates, not only in Freetown but anywhere in Sierra Leone, who cover their number plates, that it is wrong. It is an offense, and your vehicle will be impounded and you'll be brought to book. I want to ensure that this message is clear. Everybody is asked to help. We're not asking the public to confront people. The security forces, the police, it's their responsibility to do that. You can inform, but do not confront anybody. It's the police forces, that's their role, to confront, to arrest and impound vehicles. They've been given that mandate, they've been asked to do that, and people, I mean, if everybody thinks you are bigger than the law, then continue. Continue covering your number plates. There will be no I will not hesitate to embarrass and to bring you to book. This is a security concern. We've had people hit and runs where people have their numbers covered. Children have been hit, accidents. The people don't stop. It's a hit and run case. They move away and nobody can tell who did the hit and run because their numbers are covered. It's security issues. We're having mumblings of people carrying arms and ammunition, and we're seeing that we're capturing them. And when your numbers are covered, people think they're ministers, people think they're directors, and they, at the checkpoints or the police posts, they're allowed to move without proper checks. We've mandated the police that, in fact, when your number is covered, that's the time you check. We've asked the toll gates not to allow vehicles to progress either from or going away from the toll gates. The security forces in the place are being told to impound and arrest the vehicles. I cannot belabor the point, but that's what is directly from His Excellency the President, that we have to ensure we have a secure and safe country, and therefore those who do that it's a security risk, and we will clamp down on it, and we're going to clamp down on it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for your updates on the planned relocation of the Padimba Road Correctional Center and on the number plates. I think as public officials, that's a very strong statement, and I think very definitive in its term, but that speaks to government's commitment to accountability. Leaders should not be seen setting one system of accountability for themselves and another system of accountability for others. All of us should be held to the same standards of accountability. So thank you very much for those important updates. At this point, let me bring in Imran Silla of the Strategic Communications team to coordinate our Q&A session, and it will please the Honorable Minister to respond to questions or comments relating to the presentation that he has made. Imran.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Thank you, Minister of Internal Affairs. We are going to go to question and answers. So what I'm going to do, we'll take the first set of 4 questions, and then we'll allow the Minister to answer, and then we'll move on to the next set of questions. So if you want to ask a question, put your hands up, your name, your institution, and then the question. Thank you. So, yeah, the gentleman at the back.
Good afternoon. The project is going to commence, and how long is it going to last?
Any other?
I'm a member of the Washington River. My question to the Minister. Mr. Minister, you will agree with me that when the President first made his announcements about the COVID of office, you were Director of the Civil Road Safety Authority. Can I ask you, what did you do at the time, and what do you intend to do now? Or do you think that actually, from what we saw out there in the street, the announcement of His Excellency the President will actually end up as a message? My second question is in relation to the Leone Correctional Center. Can I ask you, sir, for quite a long time now, human rights organizations have been claiming of human rights violations at the Leone Correctional Center at Padimba Road Correctional Center. Would you agree with me that from what you've explained here, actually there is an ongoing violation of human rights, taking into consideration size and population of the correctional center? My third question, sir. How much money have you, from now, the appropriate expenditure to show the huge tax? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can allow 2 more questions. 2 more.
My question is not going to be on correctional center.
Your name and
Vincent Chabimomo, New Vision newspaper. But my question is going to be within the purview of the Minister. Mr. Minister, sir, the issue of booking with drivers, with regards to drivers, commercial drivers, has become the topic of the day. From Cottage, Ferry Junction, Share the Worst, Lumley, Aberdeen, and when you're applying to the provinces, 38, and the other checkpoints, the drivers suffer out of this. And at the end of the day, the end consumer, which are the passengers, they've heard the loans. What are you going to do to stop this issue of, which is no more in news, this issue of booking among drivers or with the police? Secondly, with regards to the drivers themselves, particularly vehicles, the tankers or the containers, without this traffic light, it's causing serious problem within the Ferry Junction upgone axis.
Thank you very much. One more, Banya, that's it.
Amelami Banya from LIV. Mr. Minister, good afternoon. First off, I want to start with the covering of number plates. Aside from number plates covering, what also have you been doing as a minister in order to ensure that after the working time of 5 p.m., government officials parked their vehicle? In terms of the correctional center relocation, it's no secret that overcrowding and human beings dwelling around the precinct of the correctional service are the reasons for the relocation. What of other correctional services in the provinces and the female?
Thank you very much. Mr. Minister.
Thank you for your questions. The first one is about the project commencement and how long it will last. I believe the project has already commenced. As I said, we've been the project has commenced, and how long it will take. As I said, we have the design is going on. All these things are happening at the same time. The things that we can do are happening at the same time. But we have started. We started engaging the people, and therefore we are looking. When we have this package up to December, we think most of the preparatory work will be done by December. Preparatory work will be done, so that we'll have all these answers for you at that time. Well, that's what preparatory work is going to be doing. The design would have been done, would have costed many other things, the length and time that we should take. And so I'll expect an answer then. As I said, this is not just one-off. We'll come again to update the people, and we'll update you then. Question to what will you do? What did you do when you were director of SLRSA on this vehicle covering of number plates? We as well were part of the team. As SLRSA, we have the Road Safety Corps. They work with the police to ensure that number plates, it's a crime, as I said, to cover number plates. And so they give you tickets and the like. In those days when I was there, we had just started. The number was very small of road safety officers that you had, and we upped it to 100. We had increased it by 150, and we saw a marked drive in that direction to minimize that occurrence of number plates. I myself was part of that, ensuring that we spoke to people and talked to people who did it persistently to desist. What we have now is that I am part of the police, and I also now have jurisdiction over the police. So that, with us, now is a bigger strength, a bigger team, and we have seen the force that we're doing it. We are doing it smartly. Like every other project, we're not rushing, we're telling people, informing people about it, so people are knowing about it, so that they know the consequences of it. And we have the police officers now part of it, traffic as well, who are part of it. And so all traffic people, all traffic officers have been told throughout the nation, throughout the country, about covering number plates. So I think this time we'll see a sustained effort on this number plate, covering of number plates and non-use of number plates. Human rights violations due to size and population. I would not say that whatever what they're saying is correct all through, because considering what we have, the correctional services staff have been working immensely to ensure. You know, there was a time when I was younger, when I was small, when I was a boy, when prisoners were taken out, you'd see emaciated, when I say totally emaciated people coming from prison or going to hospital, or going to the likes of that. From now, even with the current concerns and the current challenges that the correctional service staff are facing, our inmates are looked after. Our inmates are well looked after. You know, I've been to people coming out of there and they have money in the bank to go. And so the correctional services has changed its name, and even in its implementation and working, it's trying to change. And so, irrespective of yes, there's overcrowding, and that's why we're saying we should move. Because we ourselves want everybody to have that right of space and size. But they're working hard to ensure that this is changing. That's why they're all pushing for us to have the new change of location. We will have an ultra-modern facility. How much do you think the amount of such a project? As I say, I cannot put a number to it until we have all these designs in, all these new features that we want in. When that comes in, and by December, we'd have, again by December, I would say we'd have an inkling as to how much we think it will cost. But we know we're going to go ahead with it, we know it's going to be done, because we have the political will. And because we have the political will and political backing, it's going to be done. Booking drivers, topic of the day, lunch, we call all these places of bookings. You know, I also heard these allegations of bookings. For you to see it, and I say allegations, for you to see it is difficult, because if they're doing it, they've got very sophisticated measures now of doing it. But it is something, if it's done, is wrong. And it's wrong for all of us as citizens. All of us are part of this. Now, if the driver books, he's already abating and doing a bribery. The one who takes is doing the bribery. The citizen who sits and lets that happen is doing a bribery. Now, it's a contract. And so people do what? Drivers do what? They do halfways. They turn around because they think, I've done a booking. That's what people say, they've done a booking. So they can do anything that they want. Is that why you're doing booking? So you can do anything that you want. The citizens have to stand up. Percentage welfare has to stand up to say, no. Listen, if you took me from Waterloo, take me to center of town, and you charge me, you say 3,000, you're not going to stop halfway and turn around and say, you're going to turn around. No. But what happens? You stand there, somebody says, 2 ways, 6,000, you have got your 3,000 ready, and then somebody says, 1 way, 6,000. And that person's never going to back you up when you try to revolt or try to put a stance. Because everybody think it's not their business. We all think, I just want to get to where I want to go. And that's it. As long as I can do that, it's fine by me. So all of it, when this thing is a booking, you cannot blame one sector. You understand? I know police officers, I know police stations or police places that do not think of doing that kind of thing. You stand there, you look, you observe, because they've had reports that they do it. I'm not saying they do not do it, but because of my position, because of my you see, even my own people I send out, they'll say, oh, they're doing it. You understand? But when you talk to them, I've been around all the police stations talking to the traffic division about this idea of booking. We're training. In fact, there was a time we reduced drastically the amount of traffic on the roads just to see. And I've even said to them, you know what? Let's one day take all traffic out and see if these drivers will not say there's still booking going on, just so that they can get the passengers to pay more than they should. They will tell you there's booking going on, even when they know there's no booking. So these are things that we try. The IG has a lot of plans to, if this is happening, and one of the things he did was to remove a lot of, up to 200 traffic officers he removed from their positions. And they're doing a new intake, new training that's coming up for the traffic officers. And let's hope that with training, talking, that we'll believe in the integrity of ourselves. Because it comes down to integrity. And you know what? Time will come wherein I'm looking forward to this clear-up. You know, the new road that will come from Lumley all the way, where we'll have traffic lights. Because with traffic lights, you don't need traffic police officers all along the road. And so we'll see that traffic officers will be in their vehicles and they'll only respond to certain incidents where like accidents, but not stay on the roads or have a hobnobbing in some area. Those are the kind of things that will put in place. Technology, His Excellency all talks about technology, and we're looking forward to where we can apply this technology so that some of these things can be removed and done away with, if that's happening, because it doesn't tell well for us, it doesn't tell well for the police force, it doesn't tell well for anybody who's in this kind of business. And I ask people to desist, because if we do get you, the driver, you, the police officer, really be drastic about that. And the director is really livid about this, and so he's giving training, a lot of training, because before we act, it's good that we train. You know, it's something that's a malaise. It's something that we should not be doing. It's an integrity thing for each and every one of us if we're doing that kind of, or being part of that. And so that should be ceased. Another question was to drivers, what was that? Leaflets, different well, okay, there was about government officials parking their vehicles after 5. The new policies, I don't know whether you know about the new policies where government people are buying their own vehicles. We pay for our vehicles. And so if you're paying for your vehicles, these are one of the things that are coming up to you. Pay for your vehicle and then park it. You know, so they're things about, I must say that
Mr. Minister, it's in line with the number plate covering. It's in line with the number plate covering. 5 p.m. is the official working time, right? So 5 p.m. After 5, 6, 7, we see the officials, government officials, number plate covering.
No, well, the number plate covering is wrong. Anytime, anywhere, anytime. But I was going to say government officials as soon as it's 5 o'clock, they pack up their bags, and in my place we work till maybe sometimes 6, 7 after hours, and we cannot say that somebody has work to do, then pack it up just because you have to leave your vehicle and then and go home. So I think the policies that we have is that you should not cover your number plate. You should not be where you're supposed to be. I mean, if it's parked at your office and then you're going home, the policy now has a pool of vehicles, where people go into a pool, you get a vehicle, and then it's being implemented slowly. We've been, as ministers, been asked to pay a part by your vehicle, and so you see, so those policies are happening. But if you cover your number plate, it's wrong, and you face the full force of the law. I think is that everything that you asked?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Quickly, sir, I don't know. Can I use the mic?
I can hear you.
Is it a follow-up question or follow-up question?
It's very important.
Well,
It's very clear.
wait for the next set of questions, and then you'll have an opportunity to go follow-up. You'll have an opportunity to go follow-up. Let's wait for the next set of questions. Yeah. Are you, Mr. Minister, are you done?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've satisfied. I think I've answered all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so we take the next set of questions. And please try to avoid doing double questions. Just straight to the point, one question and then to the next question.
Yes, my team will got in hand again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Imran. I just want to refer back to the gentleman's question on the human rights. I thought he alluded that there are a series of human rights violations in our correctional centers. By the way, I am Colonel David Gauja. I am the team lead for the technical support team to the Leone Correctional Service from the RSLF and SLP. And I'm also directly in charge of security. So, in essence, I have a big role to play with respect to the safety and security of both inmates and the local population where we have centers. And so I wanted to understand that question clearly. Are you saying that there are reports of series of human rights violations within our centers, or what?
Yeah, it was
I want to get it clear.
Let me make it clear. You may recall the human rights organization. The human rights organizations in Sweden, the National Commission for Human Rights, Amnesty International in Sweden, Prison Watch, have been engaging the press of this country on many occasions. But equally said it on the radio, on television, and in the print media. Indeed, there are human rights violations at the correctional center. To groups.
Were you referring to a specific issue or what? I may want to get it clear.
Okay,
anyway,
okay.
Anyway, let me just continue my comment. First and foremost, I want all of us to understand that the common causes of major prison disturbances, riots, etc., has a lot to do with some systemic, managerial and other factors. But when you have an issue, particularly an issue like overcrowding, there are certain things human rights organizations, other institutions will come up to say, because of overcrowding, A, B, C, D is not right. It's infringing on the human rights of people, or inmates particularly. That is acceptable because, interestingly, when you have an overcrowded facility, if you watch the statistics that was given when the minister was briefing, from 1914 when the Leone Correctional Center was established, particularly the building of Pademba Road Male Correctional Facility, the figure from then to now, you are talking about 500% overcrowding. 500% overcrowding. That did not happen today. It has happened for years. Now, when you have an overcrowding situation like that, what does it do? It has a tendency to provoke tensions in the center, and it can be a catalyst for crisis incident. We all know that. Secondly, it compromises efforts to effectively classify inmates, as the minister was saying, and then the effects of overcrowding coupled with some other challenges that may probably be beyond even the management of the facility itself, may have the tendency, coupled with other things, to create a lot of competition for basic essentials that can lead to tensions or that may make inmates to revert to extreme measures or means to have access to certain things. We are all clear on that. And then lastly, if I may just cut it short, it may affect the dignity of the inmates and the ability of the inmates to conduct routine activities that has to do with their daily living. That is very clear. We all know that. The correctional service management cannot just jump up today and say, yeah, this is, if that is what we are referring to as infringement of human rights, this is infringing on human rights. Let's create a better facility. It cannot just happen like that. That is why government is taking all these measures with the will that they have to correct this measure that has been there for decades. But the comment I want to make is that, you know, this is something that has been in existence for a while. It is something that the correctional service officials or management cannot just automatically correct. But when you talk about deliberate abuse of human rights, then that now becomes the issue. But in this case, that is not the case. This is a challenge that the correctional service has that we are trying to rectify. So if the violation of human rights they are talking about has to do with the infrastructural challenge that we have, that we are trying to rectify, then I think we should not present it as if government or the correctional service or the correctional service management is deliberately violating the human rights of the inmates that we have. Take a comparison with other countries within the sub-region, Africa or the world. I think you come back with a commendable result for the few correctional service officers that we have managing inmates in our centers, but particularly Pademba Road. As Minister was saying, as a small boy, I used to see prisoners at that time. They used to tell us that if you want to get Karamba, go Pademba Road. If you want to know waiting at this, waiting at that, if you want to see somebody who don't really emanciate, you know, or kwashi or person, go Pademba Road. But you can all testify if you've met with inmates or if you go to Pademba Road or any of our facilities. You understand? You can testify that they are well taken care of. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. On that note, I think we'll take a few more questions.
Yes, I just want to buttress.
Well, that will happen later. I mean, except if you're part of the team. Or you do that after.
It does not mean that because we are here, we should be asking questions. We can still support ideas that are brilliant coming from the team.
But it has to be done orderly also, if you appreciate that. Yeah? So yes. Let's go to the next question. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alathaonka, News 24. My first question here is, notwithstanding the human rights challenges, that we all know, is no longer news. But some of us who live the eastern parts of Freetown, we have seen a clear display of boastfulness, if I will put it that way, of our brothers and sisters coming from the correctional center, boasting that if somebody does anything to them, they will do the worst to go back to prison. So, in as much as we are all craving for these nice facilities, I want to ask Mr. Minister, how will you reconcile between providing facilities for our brothers and sisters in there and also enhancing, retributive justice? And secondly, with regard to covering of number plates, let's say, for example, because you've cautioned the public that people should not take the law to their hands, let's say in an instance where people have repeatedly seen and reported a particular issue of someone, a position of trust or non-government official covering his or number plate, but nothing has been done. What should they do? What should they do? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, the gentleman at the back.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Momodan Kama of New Citizen newspaper. My question is for the prison. Sorry, I'm a bit late, but I would like to know the present health status of Mohamed Kambai Mamasari, because about a month ago they held a press conference that told us that his health is gradually deteriorating. First, they are calling for a special attention given to him. So, are they doubting the credibility of the health service in the prison, or they are up to something else? I want you to know, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll do a follow-up question from you. I'm sure that's what you want to do, and then that's it. The Honourable Minister will answer the questions.
Mohamed Ibrahim, Mr. Minister. You may recall that the case back there were transport tariffs that were hanged on the vehicles to discourage discussions, arguments, and all that over the fee and the going to play. Now, that tradition or that is no more. Mr. Minister, would you agree with me that what is expected from a public concern point of view is that you, as Minister of Internal Affairs, sir, to call a national press conference where you will invite the Israeli police, the drivers union, the passengers union, and stakeholders in the transport sector, and make it once and for all known to the general public, the tariffs per se, so that any citizen who may be fortunate enough to hear that information will have the ego to protest whenever he or she is vindicated by this drivers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Yeah, that's about it. You've got an answer to the question.
Thank you very much once again for the questions. The question was on boastfulness. We have people coming from prisons will say, "Took you are going to do for you." Then kind of people say that. I can assure you that although it's called correctional service and we're trying to have all these facilities, sometimes, I don't know, if you're in your bedroom and you close the door yourself, the bedroom has TV, has everything. When you close it yourself, you're there, you can be there for 2-3 days, no problem. If that same bedroom, I close you in the bedroom, all those things are different ball game, because I have closed you in there. Now your time is not yours anymore, it's my time. And so, as far as I know, you'll be there subject, when you get to this correctional service and you're being corrected, you'll be subject to the times and whims of the institution that you are being held in. And what we need to do is the justice system to levy. You know, when in America, if you're sentenced 3 times or convicted 3 times of the same crime, they make it life. You understand? So if you're a repeat offender, first time offenders, we have a limited time for you to stay. Second time offenders, you have your time. And then third time you're done, you do your full time. And the justice system also should be more punitive, so that you don't think I'm going to do the same thing and I'll come back in a week or 2 weeks. You understand? So I think, I don't know what, I'll go to the correctional services themselves to maybe say something on that, on repeat offenders and how people come out and boast that I'll go back. So I don't know what you do there and somebody wants to go there.
That boils down to the fact that we are handling them with care, in front with you. Let's say to be very honest. if we are trying to do injustice to them and create problem, they won't come out and become so boastful that they want to go to prison. They want to go back to prison. They are saying that because that care is given out to them. I mean, this is really a serious thing. You have no way to blame the correction officer. Maybe it is just inbuilt in them. They used to say it. But that we are giving the care, where is there in the correction centers? The thing that bothers on can I explain that? Thanks to God, TSTT has been attached to the correction center. They are doing their work. Because we are seeing all these sort of things. You might say that we are just trying to keep up stories and so forth. But we have a prison watch, we have Human Rights Commission, we are in synergy with them, we are working with them. They come to our centers at any time, they make sure they visit our centers and make reports. These reports are forwarded to us, we can take actions on. If there are anything that is adverse to the correction center management, definitely we take actions on that. But all the reports they have been sending to us, really, they are good for the correctional service. These are the things. Like we make sure John Bosco, these organizations are helping the correctional service, really. They are making assistance. While they are making assistance to the correctional service, they come around and monitor at the same time. So those are the few things.
Okay, I hear the next question was a repeated recovering of number plates, and we think nothing has been done. Contact the MIA, contact me, contact the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and something will be done. I can assure you that something will be done. Okay, so if it is a repeat, somebody is doing it often and then something will be done. We cannot allow that to happen repeatedly. I have a question on Kamarimba Mansari. I think that's a matter that's in court. That's a matter that's in court, and I would not like to comment on it. Only that he's in the facilities and he's been treated well, and he's concerned. His concerns are always taken care of. I don't know if the head of would want to say anything.
Yeah. To be frank with you, I mean, Kamaraba issue is in courts now. But to be very careful, but I'm saying I will pay a visit to him. Myself being the acting director general for now. Last week I met with him. The delegation on my own side, the TSC team meet with others in the correction service, the big team. I mean, so far I'm concerned, yes, he is in good health comparatively. It's just too much how in prisons, this sort of mental distress and these sort of things, they may want to go out. These are the problems. At times, it's difficult for them, but he is okay by the time he's in prison, as long as he stays in court.
To add to that, the reason why, if you're asking about why, if they are calling other doctors in because they don't have confidence in the Leone Correctional Service, that is not the case. We have the medical superintendent, a doctor at the Leone Correctional Service. But people may have various complaints, and they have consultants for different aspects of ailment or different ailments. So if he complained and the doctor examines him and the doctor thinks this is not my area, I'm an ordinary physician, if it has to do with orthopedic, if it's an orthopedic case or whatever other case, that consultant will be called in to examine the individual. That is just simply the case. Thank you.
Thank you for that. The suggestion that we could have a meeting of stakeholders, I would welcome that, because yes, I think that's one way we should start to go. Let's consult each other on prices, on the tariffs that they should pay, and follow the law. All these things are in the law, that we should display where we're going to. You should display the prices, the passenger, the number of passengers. Some of these things have gradually just gone under water. But we'll call, I ascribe to that suggestion there, that we should maybe call a meeting with all the stakeholders and thrash it out once and for all to see what's going on with this in this area. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much. I don't know whether, Deputy Minister, you'd like to comment on another issue raised by.
Thank you very much. First, on the Kamarimba issue, I think we all appreciate the posture that since the matter is sub judice, the less said about it, the better. Also, on human rights, I think the better way to approach it is rather than say what is going on may constitute human rights violations. I think the better way, an advisable way to put it is to say there may be human rights implications regarding the infrastructure deficits, and we are all challenged. I mean, across the broad spectrum of our society, even prisons, if you look at their funding portfolio, they will tell you they are very challenged. And it's the funding portfolio that drives whatever projects or programs you undertake. So you have a situation where, as the minister has made his presentation, if the center was created to host 324 and it's now clearly hosting 1,500 people, clearly that will not be the best of times in terms of shelter, in terms of healthcare, in terms of feeding. So I think it's understandable if we say, given the current state of play, there might be human rights implications. But again, if you look at Chapter 2 of our Constitution, even when you have those deficits, they are clearly not justiciable. But the fact that the good thing is government's analysis and appreciation of those human rights implications, Mr. Minister, I'm sure that is the analysis that has informed the kind of decision you are now taking to relocate the correctional center as a first step, while government continues to be committed to address the other fundamental challenges that continue to characterize the correctional center. Imran, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Minister. Thank you, Mr. Minister, for coming in today to speak to the public through the press. We look forward to the usual coverage that we get every week from our press conferences, and we look forward to see you again next week for another press conference, same time, same place. Let us please come on time so that we can start early and leave early. Thank you very much.
What about our contributions?
Contributions?
Yes, I want to support the view that...
Yeah, but that's already taken care of. You'll have another... look, there's plenty of time. We have press conferences every Thursday. You'll have your own shot at some point. Thank you. Mr. Minister, Mr. Deputy Minister, if you can please come up and take pictures before you...